Okay, so just to summarise that reading, what he's just said is we are told to remain. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, then this is the result of that. He goes on to say, ask whatever you wish and it will be done. Wow. That's just such an outrageous statement to make, isn't it? That Jesus says, ask whatever you wish and it will be done. The reason for this is so that this will be to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. He goes on to say about doing the same as he did, copying him. He says, as the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. So you do the same. Remain. Remain in my love. He goes on to tell us how to do that too. He says, if you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. And why does he tell us all of this? It's for our mutual joy. He says, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. So it all revolves around remaining. If we remain, then we will know this joy. If we remain, then we will know this fruitfulness. So the key to all of this is knowing what he means by remaining. This has to be the deal of the whole universe. God wants us to be together with him, to be united to him. And Jesus offers this remaining in him in order to facilitate that. I've described it and pictured it as two hands shaking together. When they're together, it's hard to distinguish which hand is in which hand. As Jesus said, if you remain in me, if you take my hand, then there's no possibility that I will not remain in you. It's just not possible. Contact has to be made, and the minute that you take hold of God's hand, then he has taken hold of your hand. And what Jesus is saying is make that connection, but stay there. Remain. Make it permanent. And as you remain permanent, the whole of God's life will flow through you. No wonder he said we would have abundant life. No wonder he said that my God will supply all your needs according to his riches in glory. It's because you're connected. It's because you're joined. It's because you're staying and staying fixed to God, and so his power can flow through you. Now, this is just the start. This is just the beginning of the experience for you. But something had to happen long before you could put your hand in the hand of God. I want you for a moment to imagine what it was like for Moses when he was on the mountain and God came down in a thick cloud. This is what it says. It says, on the morning of the third day there was a thunder and a lightning with a thick cloud over the mountain and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it like smoke from a furnace. The whole mountain trembled violently, and the sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder. Then Moses spoke, and the voice of God answered him. Whoa, what an awesome picture we have of God there. In Isaiah as well, we see this description. He says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphs, each with 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they were flying, and they were calling to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory." And at the sound of their voices, the doorposts and the threshold shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. Wow, again, an awesome picture of God. What about this description in Isaiah 40, where it says this, "Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hands, or with the breadth of his hand marked off the heavens? Who has held the dust of the earth in a basket, or weighed the mountains on the scales, and the hills in a balance?" This is the God we're talking about, who wants to connect with you and with me, who's putting out his hand and saying, "Take my hand and remain in me." Listen to this description too, found in Ezekiel chapter 1. He says, "I looked and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The centre of the fire looked like glowing metal, and in the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. In appearance their form was that of a man, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, their feet were like those of a calf, and gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings and on their 4 sides they had the hands of a man. All 4 of them had faces and wings, and their wings touched one another. Each one went straight ahead, they did not turn as they moved." It goes on to say, in verse 25 of chapter 1, it says this, "There came a voice from above the expanse over their heads as they stood with lowered wings. Above the expanse over their heads was what looked like a throne of sapphire, and high above on the throne was a figure like that of a man. I saw from what appeared to be his waist up he looked like glowing metal, as if full of fire, and from there down he looked like fire, and brilliant light surrounded him. Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the radiance around him. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. When I saw it, I fell face down and heard the voice of one speaking."